have with us a great guest, Randal Wallace, a council member from Myrtle Beach, who has decided to take on the huge responsibility of stepping out of District 7 in South Carolina and into the nation. And for his second national appearance on our program, we welcome you. Good evening. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Just fine. And you know what? I can hear you clearly now.
Yes, sir. Well, I made sure I got home here to my house so that I wouldn't have any issues like I did last week.
Exactly. Listen, it was fun last week, and you were, even with all the issues that we had with technology, you were the superstar last week. You had the #1 show on our program last week, and I'm honored to have you back on this week. But the words you were speaking last week to America stimulate individuals to say, hey, that's the kind of guy I would like representing me. So what is the background for you in terms of your conservative background, per se?
Well, I guess I like to think I've got some common sense, and that's that's probably the most place of it. It sounds crazy.
But in terms of your background, you grew up in South Carolina, or did you just move there, or?
I was born and raised in Myrtle Beach. My dad was a golf pro here in Myrtle Beach at the Dunes Club in the 70s, and then he left in '79. My mother taught school at Myrtle Beach High School, so I have been here all my life. And they were both from Hartsville, South Carolina, which is about maybe 10 minutes from Darlington International Raceway. If you're familiar with the Darlington 500, which is a big NASCAR event there, which is about an hour and a half from here.
Exactly.
So my family's South Carolina.
Now, I want to play a clip for you because we're going to get into something. We didn't get a chance to talk too much about the economy and other issues that you'll be facing here in Washington, D.C. And I know most of the people who are on that chicken circuit right now, campaigning or just cleaving hands and saying all the niceties and not really dealing with policies. But I really want to get a grasp of your knowledge in terms of international national affairs tonight. And the first big thing is I want to play this particular thing for you. Is President Obama at 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon.
Course of several years, as I talk to friends and family and neighbors, when I think about members of my own staff who are in incredibly committed monogamous relationships, same-sex relationships, who are raising kids together, when I think about those soldiers or airmen or Marines or sailors who are out there fighting on my behalf and yet feel constrained, even now that Don't Ask, Don't Tell is gone, because they're not able to commit themselves in a marriage. At a certain point, I've just concluded that for me personally, it is important for me to go ahead and affirm that I think same-sex couples should be able to get married.
Mr. Wallace, it seems that our president is a very modern individual. Shepard Smith on Fox News referred to him as being one of the 21st century. Glad that he arrived. Most people are running around on the liberal media circuit saying that this is a courageous move on the part of the President of the United States. What say you, sir, regarding his coming out of the closet and affirming a belief that he's had on the down low since 1996?
I'm just amazed that I'm amazed that he said that. Just even politically, it doesn't make much sense to me because we just had the state next to me, as we were talking earlier, had a vote on this yesterday or last week, and it was 61-31. Wanting to protect marriage as between a man and a woman, and I just it boggles my mind that this is an issue in the first place. In that marriage is a religious institution. Also, it's a legal one, but if you talk to religious leaders, they go through this. That it's not something that they can recognize. it's one of those things that you sit there and you wonder, this is not some civil right the way the situation was in the 60s. If you're gay or whatever, or homosexuals, you don't need to tell me. I don't need to know.
Exactly.
And the bottom line is what you do in the privacy of your own house is your business, and you don't have to tell me. I don't need to know. I don't want to know. And all this out here talking about their rights and protesting or whatever, if you just don't tell anybody, they don't need to know. They're not going to know. So why are you creating this situation? And I think the president has just got him. I was actually home watching Meet the Press when Joe Biden started, and I thought for sure, wow, he just put his foot in his mouth. I'm sure his political people were.
Now I must advise that there are states in the Union that created the civil right of gay marriage or same-sex marriage, or however way you wish to apportion it. And now they must come back and create the civil right of same-sex divorce, which is not moving quickly through most legislatures. This is not something. See, a lot of people don't recognize that governments don't marry you. They only recognize the fact that you have a sacred relationship in the eyes of God and before men and before God, and authorized by a church or a judicial system. They only recognize marriage. They don't actually marry you. So this civil rights thing is creating burdens throughout the country, and it was reported recently that 32 states have all voted against any type of amendment that would recognize same-sex marriage. Are you, Mr. Wallace, one who believes that the federal government should have a constitutional amendment that recognizes marriage only between a male and a female?
Yeah, I think if the federal government is going to do anything like that they ought to say it's between a man and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm amazed that there are states that have done this, have passed this other. That's but that's a different world in different states, I guess.
Different world, different states. But some states will look at you now and say, you know what, that's too much imposition of the federal government on the states. Should you step off of that right there?
Well, the problem with that particular thing, marriage, is that if you get married in Massachusetts, say, then if you move at some point, it could be 10 years or 20 years from now, into another state, it's usually recognized. So
exactly.
Then that becomes a real issue when you start having to, I don't know, in South Carolina, I would say you wouldn't be recognized in a same-sex couple wouldn't be recognized as married. So if you move here and you've got a whole problem with what happens about your stuff, I guess, if you're breaking up, I don't even know how you would. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't really know how you would even handle a situation where somebody was married in a state where they recognize that, and you move to a state where they don't, and decide to go your separate ways. How does the court even handle that in South Carolina?
Exactly. You're creating chaos where there was once simplicity and common sense. That's so much for modernity and for simple wills of people.
We had an issue that's got is nothing like same-sex marriage. We had a situation here in Myrtle Beach and in South Carolina about a helmet law on motorcycles, and the city of Myrtle Beach passed it, and a helmet law within the city limits. I was the one vote against it, basically making the same argument that eventually won in the Supreme Court, which was you can't go past the Uniform Traffic Act because how are you going to know if you're a motorcycle rider whether you can wear a helmet? And you pull into this city or that city, and you got annexation laws. Your city lines are all over the place. So 1 minute you're in the city limits, 1 minute you're not. How are you going to know the law? And while it's a totally different kind of thing, that's the same kind of situation. I mean, if you're allowed to get married, same-sex marriage in Massachusetts, which I think is the state that's passed it, and then you're in South Carolina and it doesn't have it, and you go to Vermont and they do have it, you never know